When I told Daniel that I cheated on him, I expected anger, shouting, maybe a door slamming, something loud enough to match the chaos inside my chest. Instead, he just stood there, quiet, still, eyes fixed on me like he was looking through fog trying to find something familiar. We'd been together for 4 years, engaged for 6 months, and up until that night, I thought I knew him. I thought I knew how far love could stretch before it broke. What I didn't expect was calm, and that calm terrified me more than any storm. "Okay," he said finally, voice steady. "With who?" My throat went dry. There was no name to give because it hadn't happened. I hadn't cheated. The confession was a test, a cruel, impulsive test I thought would prove his loyalty. I wanted to see how much he trusted me, how much he would fight for us. Instead, his composure felt like a mirror reflecting everything ugly about what I'd just done. "I don't want to talk about who," I murmured. "Just, it happened once. I'm sorry." He didn't ask for details, didn't curse, didn't even pace. He just nodded, picked up his jacket from the chair, and said, "Thanks for telling me." The door clicked shut behind him, and that soft sound carried more weight than any screaming match could. I sank onto the couch, staring at the empty space where he'd been. The silence felt like punishment, like the truth pressing its hand against my throat. When I finally texted him 2 hours later, all I wrote was, "Can we talk?" No response. The next morning, I drove to his apartment. The key still worked, but the space felt colder than I remembered. His coffee mug was gone from the sink. His favorite jacket wasn't on the hook. The life we'd built together had been quietly dismantled overnight. That's when it hit me, he believed me. Every word. For the next 3 days, I replayed the moment again and again. His expression, his tone, the way he didn't argue or demand proof. I realized he hadn't reacted with rage because he didn't see a reason to fight. To him, I'd crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. By day 4, guilt was eating me alive. I drove to his office and waited outside, heart pounding. When he finally walked out, he didn't look surprised to see me, just tired. "Daniel, please," I started. "I need to explain." He folded his arms. "Explain what? You cheated. What's left to explain?" "I didn't," I blurted. "I never did. I said it because I wanted to see if you still cared." His eyes narrowed, the disbelief sharp enough to cut. "You wanted to see if I still cared? By lying about betraying me?" The parking lot was quiet except for the distant sound of cars. I felt small, stupid, desperate. "I thought if you fought for me, it would mean something," I whispered. He shook his head slowly, almost pitying. "You don't test people you love, Claire. You trust them, or you don't. But you don't burn the house down just to see if I'll run back inside." Those words hit harder than anything else. He turned and walked away, leaving me standing there with my mouth open and my chest hollow. That night I couldn't sleep. Every memory of us, the proposal in the snow, the plans for our tiny house by the lake, played like a cruel movie I couldn't pause. I thought about how easy it had been to say those words, "I cheated," and how impossible it was now to undo them. By the end of the week, I stopped calling, stopped texting. He didn't block me. He just didn't answer. That silence became its own kind of closure. But 2 weeks later, something changed. I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Just my name written in his careful handwriting. My hands shook as I opened the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper, neatly folded. His handwriting was steady, almost too calm. "Claire, I spent a lot of nights wondering if I did something wrong. If I missed signs, ignored your needs, or took you for granted. But the truth is, I didn't fail you, you failed us. Love isn't a test. It's trust. And you taught me that sometimes the absence of honesty hurts more than any real betrayal ever could." By the time I reached the last line, my tears had blurred the ink. "I hope one day you learn that the person who truly loves you doesn't need to be tested." Daniel. I sat there on the floor, letter trembling in my hands, and for the first time, I realized he wasn't angry, he was done. Completely, quietly done. That scared me more than if he'd screamed or cursed. Anger means there's still something to fight for. Silence means it's over. In the weeks that followed, I kept expecting him to call, to soften, to give me one more chance. But he didn't. He unfollowed me on social media, returned the ring through mutual friends, and vanished from every corner of my world. At first, I told myself I'd explain it better, that if he could just see my heart, he'd understand I hadn't meant to hurt him. But as time passed, that excuse began to sound hollow, even to me. What kind of love demands proof through pain? What kind of person mistakes manipulation for reassurance? 3 months later, I saw him again, purely by accident. I was at a cafe downtown, waiting for a friend, when he walked in with someone else. A woman. She was laughing, her hand resting lightly on his arm, and for a second, I forgot to breathe. He saw me too. Our eyes met briefly, and in that moment, I felt the weight of everything I'd lost. Not just him, but the version of myself that had existed before I'd let insecurity dictate my choices. He gave me a polite nod. Not anger, not bitterness, just acknowledgement. Then he turned back to the woman beside him, smiling softly like someone who'd finally found peace. That's when I understood something I'd never seen before. Trust isn't about control. It's about surrender. It's not tested in moments of fear, but proven in moments of faith. I paid for my coffee and left without saying a word. As I walked home, I thought about the last words he'd spoken to me in that parking lot. You don't burn the house down just to see if I'll run back inside. He was right. I had burned everything, the trust, the safety, the bond, all for the illusion of security. But the worst part wasn't losing him. It was realizing how deeply I'd wounded someone who would have done anything to protect me. Months later, when his name popped up in my memories, it didn't sting the way it used to. Instead, it reminded me of what honesty should look like. Real love doesn't demand constant proof. It grows quietly in the space between faith and forgiveness. Sometimes, when I drive past the park where he proposed, I still picture the way he looked that day, the calm certainty in his eyes, the steadiness in his voice when he said, "No tests, no games, just you and me." And I wish I'd believed him, because in the end, the test I gave him didn't reveal his flaws, it revealed mine. And his reaction, it didn't just change everything between us. Changed me,